but no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feelings we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feelings we'll take in the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good. Well, I'm actually recording this in the afternoon. It's June 19th. It's my son's birthday. He's enjoying himself in Virginia Beach, on the beach. We're going to meet him later. So I had to pre-record today. And today is also Juneteenth. And I have it up in the corner there. The logo for it, or the graphic for it, and at the end we're going to have a special tribute to Juneteenth, a little video I put together. But in the meantime, it's a hot day today, and the weekend is going to be hot, and tomorrow's Father's Day, and I wish to all the fathers out there have a very happy and glorious Father's Day, and then have a wonderful time with your children, grandchildren. I'm going to see some of my grandchildren tomorrow. Some are upstate in New York, in Putnam Valley, so we'll have to FaceTime. But in the meantime, we have a good show today, and I actually I prepare for the show usually a few days before airing. And another good article came up today in my Google News feed about more listings coming on the market. So I've captured that, and we're going to look over that and have some good information and current information. So let's do our little intro and get us into today's stuff. Okay. So that's what we're going to talk today about. There's some good news on the horizon with more homes hitting the market. And I got to do this before I forget because they came out last week and they're on my blog to download. They're free to you. Okay. And the buying a home guide, and these come out quarterly. Excuse me. So this is the summer of 2021 buying a home guide. So I'm going to show you in a minute where you could go to download that. So we have that here. And we also have the selling your home. Let me just get rid of my caption for a second so you can see better. All right. And we have selling your home. And again, it's the summer 2021 edition. So this just actually came out last week. On last week's podcast, I showed it, and I want you to, I want you to remember that it's there. It's very helpful. You could download these guides, and then it'll be better. You'll be better prepared when you call me to help you find a home. To buy a home or to sell your home. Okay, very nice work, very good guides. Okay, and again, I get them quarterly, and they have my personal information in there, where to contact me, and I'm going to show you now where you could download them. So you go to real estate with Mr. G.blog, and then you'll see in the menu bar on the top, resource-materials, and that's where you go. And you could download both. You could download one. You could download two. And there's actually a millennial guide there for new home ownership. And that's there too for a download. And it's free, so it doesn't cost you anything whatsoever. Okay, so let's get into this topic here. With new homes coming on the market. Now, I predicted this, and not saying that a lot of people figured this out, but I knew once we began getting out of this horrific situation of COVID-19, more people would put their homes on the market. So basically, people who want to do that last year have been holding off. And why were they holding off? There's a lot of reasons. The main reason is that they did not want people walking through their house while we had record numbers of people getting affected with COVID-19. So they were concerned about of people entering their homes. Now, these are the people who were still living there. They may be planning to find a home, or they're having a house built. So, but they were still living on the premise. I mean, a lot of times you have a house that's completely empty, and usually the seller is not that much concerned about potential home buyers walking through the house. But if they're still living there, they really had concern about that. And especially for the older generation, okay? And we're going to see that in the report, where you're more susceptible to getting these diseases, the ones that are the most vulnerable. And it doesn't always have to be the older generation. It could have been people with children, and they had concern about the disease being spread. So they held off, all right? Unless you truly, truly, truly had to move. If you're in the military and you're moving to, you're being sent to another state, if you're going on a job transfer, I mean, unless you really had to move for some reason, you're hiding from the law, and I'm just kidding. But you But if you didn't, I mean, if you had a desire to move up, move maybe to a larger house for a younger family who they bought their first home, they had a couple of children, and they want to begin to move out and get a bigger house, but they put that on the back burner. And then you have retirees that now all the children are out, and they have their own houses and their own families, and they say, well, now it's time to downsize. We don't have to have this big house anymore. It's too costly. It's cost a lot to heat, cost a lot to air condition. So we want to downsize. So we're going to see a change in that coming up. All right. So let's get up our handy dandy graphic. All right, and there's me to the side. And let me go and move this down a bit. So if you look at this quote here, according to the existing home sales reports from the National Association of Realtors, total housing inventory at the end of April amounted to 1.16 million units, up to 10.5% from the March inventory and down 20.5% from 1 year ago. Unsold inventory sits at a 2.4-month supply at the current sales price, slightly up from March 2.1-month supply and down from the 4.0-month supply recorded in April of 2020. These numbers continue to represent near record lows. Basically, what we are seeing, some improvement. We are still at near record lows for housing inventory. Here's why. Since the pandemic began, and this is what I just went over, sellers have been cautious when it comes to putting their homes on the market. At the same time that fewer people are listing their homes, more and more people are trying to buy them thanks to today's lower mortgage rates. The influx of buyers aiming to capitalize on those rates are purchasing this limited supply of homes as quickly as they are coming to the market. That's what we have experienced in the last few months. I'm just going to go down. I mean, this graph said you could go on my blog site, and let me make sure you could hear me, okay? Because I'm not sure if. Okay. This article is on my blog as well. All right, so you could go and look at all the different graphics. But here they're saying, despite today's low inventory, there is hope on the horizon. Regarding existing home sales, Sabrina Spianu, senior economic research analyst at Realtor.com, explains, in May, newly listed homes grew by 5.4% on a year-over-year basis compared to the earlier days of the COVID-19 pandemic last year. In May, a share of newly listed homes compared to an active daily inventory hit a historical high of 44%, 70.3 percentage points higher than last year and 15.1 percentage points above typical. And let me move this down a little bit more. Levels seen in 2017 and 2019. This is a reflection of quickly selling homes, and for buyers, it means that while they can expect fresh new listings every week, they will have to be prepared to move quickly on desirable homes. And going down to this, I apologize, I forgot to highlight this. I don't know if you see my mouse over here. The builder's confidence in the market remains strong due to the lack of resale inventory, low mortgage rates, and there's a growing demographic of prospective home buyers. Now, that's new homes. So the builders of new homes have this incentive now because there's such a low inventory of existing homes. Now, the only problem that this article doesn't talk about is that the supplies that they need are in the shortage as well because of COVID-19, because of some factories or mills temporarily closing down or having a very limited staff, and this adds to it. Now, I've read some predictions. We need another about 6 months before home supply materials go back to normal. All right. Now, that's one opinion. I'm hoping that's what it will be. I'm hoping that it will be sooner. But that's another issue that newly built homes have, is getting the materials that they need. But let's just go down to our next article. And this was today. Well, I don't know if it was actually typed up today, but it was in my Google News feed. And it says the tight U.S. housing market uncoils with seller ready to cash out. So let's bring this up here. All right, and it came out a little bit smaller here. Let me see if I close myself out here for a second. All right, I'm just going to bring this down a little bit more. The number of U.S. homes for sale climbed 6.7% in early June. The other report had 6.4% from the same weekly period in May, according to House, an investment platform for home buyers. That was the biggest increase since COVID-19 lockdowns took hold last year. Listings rose in 54 of the 100 metropolitan areas measured, including the regions around Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Detroit, Denver, and Seattle. Sellers are saying it's time to let's make some money. An agent with eXp Realty, I'm an agent of the eXp Realty. I'm actually an associate broker, which had the biggest supply increase in houses data. With the world opening up again, the vast majority of people being vaccinated has given a new comfort level, and I'm going to assume the rest is going to say to sellers, to people. All right. And I just want to add this. And this is what I said before. People who were thinking about selling in 2 or 3 years may have accelerated their plans. They are selling now to realize the 20% equity they gained in the past year. All right. Now, see, they're being smart because there is some economists out there who say that we're going to have a setback in home prices. All right. My theory, for what it's worth, as long as the economy stays strong, I believe home prices will level out in the next few months and they won't increase anymore. And as long as the economy stays strong, they won't go down. My opinion, what it's worth. If we have some difficulties in the future, that may change. And what may change, when I speak to some mortgage loan officers, they fear with the ending of the moratorium on paying your mortgage, with the moratorium on foreclosures, there will be maybe a big sell-off coming, I think, from the fall and going into the holiday season, into the beginning of next year, because some banks may not put this deferred balance on the back end of the loan, and they may have to start paying now. And it might be a larger payment, it might be a balloon payment, whatever. Okay, so the mortgage loan officers I work with said, one of them said that he feels that we're going to have a deluge of homes hitting the market, more so in September because of the end of this moratorium. It may not happen, okay? Depending, I really believe it'll be depending upon the banks on how they deal with this money that was not paid for the last year, those payments. So are they going to increase the monthly payment of the owner of the house? Okay. Are they going to ask for it all up front? Are they going to tag it to the end? It depends on how they work it. All right. But there's a lot of people who are, if they have vacation homes, if they have second homes, if they have some investment properties, and they're not really big time investors. I'm not talking about people who buy, 10, 20, 30 homes they have and they rent it. I'm talking about the occasional one who's saying, no, it's too much right now. The rental moratorium is over. My renter, my tenant can't make up those back payments. I'm short on my loan. I'm behind on my loan. So things should happen. I'm trying to stay positive, but it depends on how the banks handle the deferred payments, and also depends on the economy. Let me just move this down. I think I highlighted one more thing here. Okay. And the ones who have held off selling, again, as I said before, these are mostly retirees. Pendleton said of her new seller clients, the lockdown has given people a whole new perspective about where they want to live, and they're missing their family. Okay. And a lot of people, I mean, it's so involved, this whole situation, because we had people who, if they were living in New York or even on the outskirts of New York, I think in this report it says like people moved to Allentown, to New Jersey, and they got the bigger homes for less amount of money. And, they could work from home. Maybe they have to go into the office 2 times a week, but it's better than 5 times a week, right? So a lot of the families who lived in the city where they grew up, right? Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, who did I miss out? The Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island, and New York City. Their children, let's say, because these people bought their houses in the 40s and 50s, they paid off. They're set, but now their family has moved out to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, and they want to be close to them. So a lot is happening, a lot is going on. So it's going to be hard to really pinpoint which way it's going to go. I mean, I'm going to summarize it again in saying, if the economy goes strong, we're not going to see a drop in prices. Depending on the banking industry, how they deal with these defaulted payments, we may not see foreclosures on properties or a big sell-off of secondary properties, vacation properties, so forth. It all depends. But to keep positive, I think we're going to be able to work through it. I think it's going to be okay. I also would like to see President Joe Biden's tax incentive to go through, which right now he's proposing $15,000 for new home buyers. And the only reason why I say that, because now the prices of these homes have skyrocketed. And for first-time home buyers, they might just not have the down payment to make it, or the closing costs. Now, maybe 15,000 is a little too high. Maybe they'll come down, and they'll, between Republicans and Democrats, they'll battle it out. But I believe we need it just to help build up a middle class again. All right, to give first-time home buyers a chance to home ownership. All right, and that's what I'm going to say on that topic, I think. All right. But what we also have today, and this is nice, we have a question from one of my viewers. And let's see here. We have a question from viewer. This is Sandra from Chesapeake, and she's pre-recorded her question, and we're gonna work on it. Okay, I'm getting a message that one of my streams are not working. I hope it's working okay. But let's bring in Sandra right now and listen to her.
Chris, thanks so much for taking my question. Loving the show. I am in the market to purchase a new home, but I am so frustrated with all the competition out there right now, the multiple bids, and offers going over the asking price. Should I wait? If not, how can I prepare myself for today's market?
That's a great question. And I see this too. Being a realtor, I subscribe to all these different Facebook groups. A lot of times they're first-time home buyers, and they're going out there and they're getting frustrated with hearing that the property that they like is already in contract. When they put it in, they find out there's multiple offers. They're going to go highs and best. So I'm going to give you some tips on what to do. The first thing, get pre-approved. Make sure that's strong and steady. When I say strong, even go to the point where you're not just pre-qualified by the mortgage loan officer. You are pre-approved by the underwriter. And just a fast little lesson in this. The loan officer does the initial pre-qualification. He looks at your credit and he looks at your income and I'm saying he, could be she. All right. I work with a lot of female loan officers. Okay. So he or she will pre-qualify you based upon that. And that could be over the phone. Once you start with the paperwork and you go into his or her office and you bring your 2 years of tax returns, you bring your pay stubs, if you have your W-9s, your W-2s, all right, and you bring all the proof of showing that this is your income, then it goes to the underwriter, and the underwriter is going to check everything. All right, he's going to dot the I's and cross the T's. So they go more into detail, and then usually, and I get this from my buyers, they're saying, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Loan Officer pre-qualified me. Why is the underwriter asking for all this additional information? And that's just what they do. They just want to make sure that you are financially strong. And basically, it's just additional proof. I mean, if everything you told the loan officer is true, it just has to be backed up with the paperwork. All right, and they might just need more documentation. It does not mean you are not getting the loan. It means they just need additional proof. I had this happen a lot too when I work with divorced clients, and depending on their divorce decree and what they are still responsible for financially, that has to be cleared up. All right, and 9 out of 10 times the loan is still good. I had one where it got kicked out. It's another long story. I'm not going to go into that now. It does happen, But 90% of the time, they just need that documentation to back up everything. And it's for good reason. They are trying to avoid what happened in 2007, 2008, where just loans were giving out haphazardly, and the buyers really could not afford them. Okay, so get that piece of paper first. Then what I would recommend is that, let's say $230,000 is your top. Put your search at 220, because what's happening now presently is that the market price of the house is really there, and when I say there, the seller's reserve price, and they're saying this is the least amount of money I'm going to take for it. So you're going to have to be able to have a little leeway in there to go a little bit higher. Okay? So you don't want to go and look at homes right at your top, and then you find out there's a highest and best offer, and you have to go a little bit higher. I did a podcast on this a couple of weeks ago where we talked about how today the asking price is the reserve price, and that's the least amount they're going to take. Before this situation that we're having now, before the pandemic, usually the seller will price a little bit higher, knowing that they'll have to come down a little bit or pay for closing costs for the buyer. But it's the opposite now. So leave some room, and depending again on your cash situation, maybe you could still, if you have a cash position where you could put in another 10,000 above the asking price, then that's up to you. But I would still go about 10,000 below. For this area, I think it's okay. For New York, it's not. People going from 30 to 100,000 above. In those markets. I think for Hampton Roads, if you do 10,000, it's enough. But I know someone's going to say, "Oh no, I have an example where someone gave 30,000 more." But stay at a point below your highest point that you'll be approved for, or that you've been pre-qualified for. So if it's at 230, I would go around 220. Okay. And as I found out from another real estate agent we're talking, you could use, with what's going on with everybody going above the asking price, you could use family money. If mom and dad have an extra 10,000 for you, if a grandparent or whatever, they will have to give you a gift letter. But if you need money to make up that difference, a lot of times it's going to be for the appraised value. Because again, even if you're bidding below your top amount, okay, we said 230 was your top amount, here's 220, okay, and you win it at 230, and then we find out that the house only appraised for 220, and the seller might keep to their guns and saying, no, I want 230. The bank will only finance the 220,000. Not going to finance 230,000. So you could go to, if you don't have the cash, you could go to family members. I guess you could go to a friend too. But they would have to sign a gift letter saying that this is not a loan. This does not have to be paid back. All right. So it does not add to your debt to income ratio. All right. So that's ways to go about it. So what I'm saying is be well prepared. Don't give up hope. As we discussed earlier, more homes should be coming on the market, but have all your ducks in a row. You can't, like a house, want to put a contract on it and you have not yet been pre-qualified or pre-approved. Get pre-approved now and then start looking. All right. And then stay a little bit below your top price and see if you can find homes in that area. And that's what I recommend for now. Things change. Like I said, hopefully we'll be getting more listings coming up in the next few months. And this craziness of these multi-bids and highest and best offers will end. Maybe not soon, but it might just lighten up a little bit. Okay? A little bit. That's my Robert De Niro impersonation. All right, I'm hearing from my new producer, William Burgess, that we might have a special guest artist and the or guest celebrity in the audience.
Chris, great news. We have a famous celebrity in the audience. Nicknamed Bogey, this actor was an American film and stage actor. His performances in classical Hollywood cinema films made him an American cultural icon. In 1999, the American Film Institute selected this actor as the greatest male star of classic American cinema. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Humphrey Bogart.
Wow. Oh, I didn't want. Okay. I know you can't see me. Okay. All right. I wanted to get rid of the. Well, not rid of, but because I'm going to do a special tribute right now. Let me. I think this is it. Okay. No, we're. Okay. I'll just leave it up there. Let's see. Just give me uno momento. Okay. All right. So that was great to have. I didn't know he was still around, but it was great having Humphrey Bogart in the audience. Thanks you so much for stopping by. All right. So we're at the end of our show, and today is Juneteenth or June 19th. And now it is a federal holiday, which is great. Should have happened a long time ago, but we got it going now. Okay. So I always end my show with let there be peace on earth, especially with what has happened within the last year, whether it was a pandemic, whether it was political. And I just think that we all need to bring peace on earth, okay? So I'm doing a little tribute to June 19th. And with a beautiful recording from the Oswego Choir, virtual choir from SUNY, which is a state college in New York State, my home state. And there's a beautiful rendition of it. So let's celebrate and cherish this new holiday. And let's make sure that what had happened in the past never happens again. So as I always say, the greatest power we have is to love. And the greatest gift is each other. Enjoy, and we'll see you next week.